So, guys, it's David here, and it is currently day 370. I hope you guys are doing well and are doing better than yesterday. Now, today, I want to talk about what can we do when we are frustrated for not being able to focus at something for a prolonged time. Now, I want to talk about this because as I have gotten in or back into working on coding to learn the skill to create my application, there has been a lot of frustrations along the way because I am not the best at coding. I have no idea what I'm doing, and it is a skill I am still learning, still developing, but frustration is inevitable, right? Because we will always be bothered by the fact of our own incompetencies. We have this ego that we think we know everything, but when we get humbled, it is definitely not nice. But there are some things I've realized in my face to face battles with not being able to be focused and being distracted constantly when I am frustrated. And I realized one thing is that when we are frustrated at doing something, when you have lost your sense of flow, I'm not saying you should give up on the spot. Try pull yourself back into it. Try realize that it is only a mere thought and tell yourself that. Reinforce to your mind that you're thinking. You're just thinking, and whatever it is you're thinking right now, you have to let it go. And for me, normally what I think when I am frustrated is I look at all the insecurities and imperfections of myself. And that could be my crooked teeth, that could be my double chin, and that could be the fact that I'm not mewing properly. All these things that I'm unsure and insecure about, that is the thing I think about when I become distracted or frustrated at doing something. Now, I realize that thinking like that for a prolonged time is counterproductive because to think about insecurities and to think about your own imperfections and flaws is a reflection of your negative emotions. It is of your negative energy. And from what we know, or from what I know thus far, is if we latch onto negative emotions for a long time, then we are bound to repeat our old behaviors of self destruction because those negative feelings are related to our old living patterns. So it is a constant fight with our mind and body when we are distracted. We have to force ourselves to be present. We have to let go of those thoughts. We have to let go of our feelings to those addictions. So constantly reminding yourself that it is only a mere thought allows you to put yourself back into the present state. It allows you to focus. It allows you to face the challenge ahead of you. Now, over time, if that does not work, and certainly sometimes I do feel like I am stuck on this problem where I don't understand the concept and where prolonged frustration has clouded my judgment and clarity. And when you add all the other things on life on top of that, it definitely can get a little bit messy. And the last thing you want to do is to do something difficult when your mind is not clear. Because from what I have learned, if your mind is not focused, if your mind is not present, then first of all, you are not doing any effective learning, right? If you're trying to learn a skill, if you're trying to learn a concept, if your mind and heart is not dedicated towards it, then you're not going to learn anything, right? You may have this video play in the background and you're just dozing off thinking about your past and all these behaviors you're just urging to do because you feel like shit. And you have to be focused to really learn new things in life, and especially doing hard things, because by definition, doing the hard things means you're forcing your body to try something new. You're forcing your body to adapt new changes, and that is uncomfortable by nature. And that requires our full focus. So without the focus there, you're not going to learn anything. Right? And even though you feel like you have learned something, I can guarantee you that over time you'll forget it instantly. Matter of fact, you close that video and you'll forget about what you have learned in the past few hours, and it's definitely not ideal and definitely ineffective. So what can we do when we are constantly distracted despite ourselves pulling back into the present state by acknowledging our thoughts as a mere thought and letting go of that thought? Now, what I have realized is, and what has helped is to step away from it, right? It is a very simple solution is if you're banging your head at something and it's just not working, you're not understanding the concept, and your mind is just becoming more burdened over the frustration of you not understanding the thing, then by hammering your head at the same thing over and over again is only going to add and accumulate onto those stress responses. It is only going to make you feel more shit about yourself and think about all those negative thoughts. And over time, this will eventually lead you into performing a bad behavior or perhaps doing something you later regret. So, stepping away allows you to really take your mind off this focus, right? This focus at this wrong thing. It stops you from being so narrow visioned, right? It stops you from being so narrow visioned, and it allows you to come back at this task over a few minutes or so to have a more open minded perception of what it is you have to do, overcome. Now, this works in a lot of ways because it allows your mind to relax. It allows your mind to relax on the fact that what you thought was the problem may actually not be the problem at all. But the problem lies in the fact that you are so rigid and so conceit that that was the problem. But sometimes we just have to take a step back and realize that the problem is just not that. And sometimes taking the step back in this context will allow you to advance a few steps forward. Because working hard, guys, does not necessarily mean you have to just keep on hammering at something if that means it is going to accumulate more fatigue and accumulate more stress and frustration. Because if the more you give and you're getting diminishing returns at the end of the day, then are you really improving with the output and the amount of effort you put into something? I mean, the amount of input you put into something, are you going to get the same output or are you going to get less? And sometimes we have to realize that doing more is doing less. And the worst case is actually regressing in your journey of growth. And this can happen in so many other things in life. And from personal experience, like going to the gym, if you do too much, like you think you're doing more, but in reality, you're only going to overtrain if you keep on hammering at yourself because your body can only recover at a certain rate. Now, over time we can expand and grow the amount of damage we can put our body through before it burns out. We can train our muscles to tolerate more abuse over time, but starting off, if you don't slowly gradually increment that tolerance and just go ham at something and with go everything with all you got, then you are going to experience burnout sooner. Now, a burnout may be a bit over exaggeration in one session of deep work or hard working, but over time, this can be a problem. Over time, you'll be wondering to yourself, man, where has all my motivation and focus gone? And the truth is, it's not gone. You have just exhausted your mental muscles, you have just exhausted your will. So, we have to go into life with a plan and a strategic plan. I know people will say that if you don't work hard, if you don't give it 100%, then you're not going to beat the competition. Now, I am not in any means saying that we should not give our 100% focus into something. I certainly think that if we don't give it our all, then we are not going to advance in life. But sometimes giving it our all does not necessarily mean we have to give every single living ounce of ourselves into the thing we are trying to achieve, but rather we should allocate this strategically planned amount of time, a working session, a learning session, an improvement session, whatever you want to call it, a scheduled golden hour for say, and to use all our resources and focus in that allocated time to complete the things we said we were going to do, and afterwards reward ourselves, right? This will build a reward system to form good habits, right? And obviously it is more easily said than done, and I say this because we all have this ego thinking that we can do more than other people, thinking that we can work 5 and 8 hours a stretch at a time and be great. And I used to think like that, and perhaps that is true, right? Back in the day that was the truth, but now coming back into relearning the things I have kind of forgotten, I can't expect myself to just work like that. Now obviously it's possible, and I sure believe I can, but I do want to take a strategic plan in this and do it for the long haul, because I know that this may take some time, and if I don't do it wise and diplomatic, then I may run into an early burnout, and you just never know what happens during your burnout. You just never know if life goes to shit. And the last thing I want is to lose the momentum and consistency I have built. So this made me think that I need to rely less on will and more on strategic planning, because I need to save my will for when it's most important and try not use it at all if it's not necessary. But with that being all said, guys, I'm gonna take a break now. Well, I made this video just as I was about to honestly just do things that I regret, because I was a bit frustrated at not understanding some concepts. But recording this video really gave me the time to self-reflect on the own advice I'm trying to preach, and that is to, just step away when things are not working, because taking that 5 or 10 or even 15-minute break, depending on how much time you have, can really make a big amount of difference, right? If we rest in between sets, lifting weights to work out to grow muscles, then it will be also wise to think that we also need some rest during our working sessions, right? Because you can't just pump out like 30 reps in one set and not split it up and have rest sessions, because you know that you won't perform as well if you had just taken a break, 3 sets, 10 reps each set, 2-minute break. You'll hit those reps and you'll feel better. But doing everything in one little chunk, you're forcing your body to adapt to something so extreme, so intense. And how do you expect yourself to do that when you have not built up the mental strength nor tolerance to condition that, honestly? So that is really all I got to say for today, guys. And I do really hope you guys have learned something from this. But if not, like always, I'll be here for you guys tomorrow. But until then, good night.